Hello everybody. In this video, we will try to understand the upcoming Leo energy. So, currently the Leo sign is watched by Saturn with its seventh aspect and also by Rahu with its fifth aspect. So, in the upcoming days, Mars is going to join Leo. If you see June, let me increase the date here, something like okay around around 29th June, right, around 28th or 29th June, Mars is clearly going to sign Leo. So, in let us say in the normal horoscope, in the natal horoscopy, when you are seeing a particular house is having lot of malefic energy, so that particular house may have lot of obstacles, something like one particular take one particular house, fourth house, let us say. So, the fourth house has, for somebody, the fourth house has some malefic planet with respect to ascendant. Of course, in here in mundane astrology, we mainly consider for we mainly see the natural malefics and the natural benefics thing. So, let us take a natal horoscope where the fourth house has something like Rahu, right, only Rahu alone. See, when Rahu alone is different, and when Rahu is in conjunction with some planet, that is entirely a different story. Rahu in conjunction with another planet, which is a very benefic planet, can be very good. That conjunction is very good, but I am talking about Rahu alone. And also Rahu's nakshatra lord, let us say Rahu is in the fourth house, and let us take Gemini ascendant, and Rahu is in the fourth house, Virgo, and in the Virgo also Rahu is in the nakshatra, Hasta nakshatra, right. Now, what is the Rahu's nakshatra lord here? Moon. Let's place Moon in the 8th house. So, Gemini ascendant, Moon is in the sign of Capricorn. So, Rahu in the 4th house, Rahu is alone. And now, let us take Mars also. Mars is sitting in the Gemini itself. Let us take ascendant itself. So, Mars is watching this Rahu with its fourth aspect, right. So, Mars fourth aspect is generally considered as bad, right. Whatever may be Mars for the ascendant, whether it is functionally malefic or functionally benefic, a Mars fourth aspect is treated as bad. So, Mars is watching the fourth house for this Gemini ascendant, and the fourth house is Virgo, and in the Virgo already Rahu is present, and this Rahu is working for the Moon because Rahu is present in the Hasta nakshatra. So, and Moon is also in the 8th house, right. So, the fourth house has some malefic energy if you observe, because Mars is watching the fourth house, right, and Rahu is already present there. Rahu is generally is a problem giving planet. Wherever it is present, it is going to give problems. See, it is going to, for some people, something like, let us say in this example, Rahu is sitting in the Hasta nakshatra and the Hasta nakshatra Lord Moon is in the 8th house, right. So, this Rahu is actually working for 8th house. So, this is not a positive Rahu. Even Rahu works for something positive. Rahu generally is famous for giving enormous amount of money, enormous amount of Maya, materialism, but at the same time associating with that materialism, he also gives some problems, right. That too, let us say Rahu is in this case, let us say Rahu is in the Hasta nakshatra, the Virgo sign, and the moon actually we are placing in the 8th house instead. If it is in the 2nd house, in the Cancer sign, and moon is also, the moon is something like a Shukla Chaturdashi moon or Shukla Trayodashi or Paunami or something like Shukla, from take in the Shukla Paksha, means where you can find the increasing phase of moon, that is waxing phase of moon, that too you take from the day of Dashami, right, Dashami to Paurnami, that in those days the moon is very white and very increasing, and it's a positive moon, right. So, that kind of moon let us take. So, Krishna Chaturdashi moon is very bad, but I'm just, let us take Shukla Chaturdashi moon. Shukla Chaturdashi is very good, right. So, very increasing phase of moon, or Shukla Dashami, or take Shukla Ekadashi, right, the 11th day of the Shukla Paksha. So, if that kind of moon is present in the 2nd house, that too in the Cancer sign, of course, as Cancer sign is activated, the person can be very emotional, but at the same time this moon is working for the 2nd house, and the moon is very strong, as we are taking it as the Ekadashi, the Dashami, Ekadashi or Dvadashi or Trayodashi or Chaturdashi phase day of the Shukla Paksha. So, this moon is very strong. So, Rahu is working for such kind of moon which is placed in the 2nd house, then that is fine. Of course, if it is watched by some malefic influences, so associated with that there are some problems, but this Rahu working for moon in the 2nd house is better. But in our example, the moon is present in the 8th house. So, imagine the 4th house energy, the 4th house is aspected by the Mars, which is in the ascendant Gemini. So, it has some malefic influence, and at the same time Rahu is present. So, there is some malefic influence as because of the presence of Rahu, and at the same time this Rahu is in the Hasta nakshatra, whose Lord Moon is in the 8th house. So, malefic energy, more malefic energy, right, we are adding here. Now, I am not talking about the current transits, I am not transits, I am talking about the natal horoscope, right. So, the horoscope means when the person was born, what were the planetary positions, right, that one I am talking about. Now, let us take Saturn in the 2nd house for this particular horoscope, Saturn in the sign of Cancer. So, when Saturn is sitting in the sign of Cancer, it is watching the sign Virgo with its 3rd aspect, and Saturn's 3rd aspect is also bad, right. Whether Saturn is functionally benefic or functionally malefic in natal horoscopes, right, Saturn's 3rd aspect is always malefic. So, look at the 4th house energy. A 4th house is something like it is having lot of malefic energy, because it is watched by Mars with its 4th aspect, by Saturn with its 3rd aspect, and Rahu is already present. So, wherever Rahu is present, it is going to give troubles, and we need to check where its nakshatra lord is and what are the yogas it is forming, that is a different thing. But wherever Rahu is present, that is your life purpose basically. So, Rahu is present in the 4th house, and also its nakshatra lord moon is in the 8th house. If moon is in the 2nd house, let us say, of course it is going to give, it is going to help for money and bank balance, but at the same time it is going to give troubles associated with that, right. It's a different story, but I am taking moon in 8th house, completely malefic I am taking, right. Just imagine the 4th house is having lot of problems here. 4th house is having lot of problems. And then let me add more. What is the sign lord where Rahu is present? Rahu is in the sign of Virgo, and let us take Mercury in the 6th house. Let us take Mercury in the 6th house, that is in the sign of Scorpio for our current example. So, the 4th house has very less strength, if you observe, right. In the current example that we are discussing, 4th house has, so not the I am not showing that on my screen, I am only telling that, right. So, Gemini ascendant, in the ascendant Mars, and then 2nd house Saturn, the 4th house Rahu, and then the Rahu's nakshatra lord. So, Rahu is present in the Hasta nakshatra, the nakshatra lord moon is in the 8th house, and then the sign lord Mercury is in the 6th house Scorpio. Just imagine the whole scenario, the 4th house is completely down here. What is 4th house generally? 4th house is your 11th standard and 12th standard education, and 4th house is your relative. It is called as a bandhusthana, means how much happiness you can get from your uh, relatives. And 4th house is also about your house that you are living in, the vehicles that you use, and also 4th house is about, is called as sukhasthana, means the emotional happiness you get in your life, right. So, that is the 4th house, the property, the lands, agricultural lands, or whatever lands you may have, that is all 4th house. So, what happens in the current example when a person is having this much, this kind of planetary positions, the 4th house is completely bad. So, whatever may be the other positions in the horoscope, the person may have problems associated with the house, with the property that he has, with the house that he is living in. And 4th house is also a mother, a house of mother, right. So, he has problems associated with his mother and relatives. So, he has problems associated with his relatives, right, and with his vehicle, something like he may not he may not get driving lessons very easily, or he may get lot of problems when he is driving. His emotional balance is not correct when he is driving, right, or his 11th standard, 12th standard, he may have some gaps, he may have some kind of problems in the 11th standard and 12th standard. His 11th standard, 12th standard education was very bad, right, because the 4th house is very bad that we are discussing here, right. So, when this kind of energy is present in a house, when a house is completely bad, just imagine, and in astrology, even if these many problems are present for a particular house, if that particular house is watched by Jupiter, he may have relief. That is where the concept of Jupiter a savior, Jupiter the savior is coming out. See, Jupiter, some people, if your Jupiter is functionally malefic and it is present in a particular house, that house of course has lot of problems. But whether Jupiter is functionally malefic or functionally benefic to your horoscope, the aspects of Jupiter are always treated as good. Even in this kind of situation, Jupiter may give some relief. If, let us say, Jupiter is in the 12th house for the current horoscope, that is, Jupiter is in the sign of Taurus, right, that is 12th to Gemini. So, by sitting in the sign of Taurus, Jupiter is actually watching the fourth house, which is Virgo. So, it may give some relief in all these activities, right. So, that is the power of Jupiter, and at the same time just imagine the strength of fourth house that we discussed in our current example. And now, why I am telling all this? If you see Leo, basically by June 29th, by 29th June, and then let me make it July. Even in July, Mars is still present there. So, let me make it as August. August it moved there with 8 degree. So, let me make some 10 days back, 16th August, it is 0 degree, and 15th, yes, 15th August. So, June 29th June to 15th August 2023, the Leo sign, a sign Leo, is going to be experienced by a lot of malefic energies, right, because this Rahu is watching Leo with its fifth aspect, and Saturn is watching Leo with its seventh aspect, and Mars is actually present there, and this Mars is also watching the Saturn, right, with its seventh aspect. And this Rahu is not a normal Rahu. This Rahu is watched by Saturn with its third aspect. So, there is a kind of triangle here. If you see Mars watching Saturn with its seventh aspect, Saturn watching Rahu with its third aspect, Rahu watching Mars with its fifth aspect. So, there is a kind of triangular energy, or if you see the whole aspect energy, it is a, if you imagine it is in a circle, because it is not a complete triangle, because if you draw this fifth aspect this way, right, or some way, whatever, it can be triangular, or if you imagine it in a circular way, whatever, there is a kind of loop formed here, right, as a kind of strong loop formed here. And the Saturn Mars, this axis has a two-way impact, Saturn watching Mars, Mars watching Saturn, right. Now, in this kind of situation, Leo will be under severe struggle. I told you in my previous video, I posted a video that is threat to supremacy, right, and in that video we discussed the world's richest country, right, because supremacy, threat to supremacy. So, why you can watch that video, I can again give the link to that video in the description box, but just imagine Leo is the sign of supremacy, and Leo is associated with world's richest country, right. And now, of course, 29th June 2023 to 15th August, you can remember that date, right. In that date again, Leo is going to face severe troubles, right. Leo energy, that is the world's richest country, is going to face very, very big troubles. What kind of troubles it may experience, we will try to discuss, but before that, when we posted that threat to supremacy video, when Mars was in the sign of Taurus, I think it is around February, right. So, February, during for some month, 1 month, 30 days or 30 days or 25 days, this energy was present. Saturn watching Leo, Rahu watching Leo with its fifth aspect, and Mars watching Leo with its fourth aspect. That time Leo was in a very bad situation, right, where lot of layoffs were also going on in the world's richest country. And now this particular Leo under struggle, right, you just imagine the impact of this whole thing, right, happened in the February, around, even in the month of Jan it was there, yes, Jan, February, for a lot of time this kind of problem was, present. Now again it is coming much more severe way, you can say. It's from June 29th, right, June 29th to 15th August. You can see during 15th August, at least this Jupiter is also present there only, or it is moving, it is not moving, it will not move because Jupiter stays in a sign for 1 year. And yeah, June 29th, right, June 29th to 15th August, you can see Mars be present in the sign of Leo. And what is Leo? Basically, Leo is the ascendant of world's richest country, of world's richest country. Now, what is first house in mundane astrology? Basically, so where it is going to give problems, as we discussed in our previous example of a natal horoscope, where the fourth house under severe malefic energy, right. So here we are not talking about the nakshatra lord, we are not talking about the sign lord in this particular mundane astrology current transits, because here generally natural malefics are concerned, and then we see the sign energy, that would be fine, because the sign lord moves very frequently. Here sun, right, he moves very frequently, so it's not a very great idea to understand the sign lord also here, how the sign lord is. So of course sign lord is present in the sun is present in the sign Gemini. So it can be, so when sun is in Gemini, you can see the sun's position here in the, and that too in the Ardra nakshatra, where sun is not comfortable in Ardra nakshatra, because it is a Rahu nakshatra. Rahu and sun are severe, they are born enemies, you can say, right. But here sun is very much neutral with the landlord Mercury, and Mercury is also present with sun, because Mercury and sun are very much closer always, because just after sun you can see Mercury, the planet. Now of course strength is not so good, but at the same time the sign lord is also with sun, and if you imagine the other thing, if you see Mars is in the Ketu nakshatra, of course after Ketu it will go to Purva Falguni, the after Magha it will go to Purva Falguni, which is a Venus nakshatra. But we are not talking about that, we are mainly checking that sign energy. The sign energy is under trouble, the whole energy, right, because of the malefic influences of Saturn and Rahu. At the same time, and also Mars is a natural malefic. So here we are considering the natural behavior of the planets, right. We are not checking the sign lord behavior, we are not checking the nakshatra lord for which the planet is actually working for, right. So here as long as Mars is in Ketu influence, that is also very bad, right. When Mars is in the nakshatra Magha, right, it's not a very, it's a when Mars is in the nakshatra Magha, it shows a a big war without direction, a war behavior without any direction, without any purpose, without any aim, right. That is the behavior. Even we are coming to that later, but let us see what is the first house in mundane astrology. In mundane astrology, a first house, right, is the house of existence, right. It shows the general condition of the country, public health, nation as a whole, and in the time of emergency how the country can behave, means the country can withstand or not, even in the case of emergency, means the strength of the country is first house. Because see, in the natal horoscopy, your first house is your physical body, your physical strength, right, your behavior, your attitude, right, that is your first house. The same thing happens in the Indian astrology also. It shows your it shows the country's strength. In the time of emergency, it can withstand in the time of emergency or not, it has enough strength or not, it has enough strength to exist or not, exist as a nation or not. A public health, because if a public health is nation's health, public health is completely damaged, there is no concept of nation at all, there is no nation at all if there is no public. So national disasters, right, can be understood from the first house. The ability of the nation to cope with the bad situation, a general character of the people, the national domestic considerations and national objectives, that is first house. And also the condition of the cabinet, of the government, right. So when malefic influences are on the first house, it show a kind of dissensions in the cabinet. It can shuffle, it can mean a shuffle and reallocation of portfolios among ministers. So there would be cabinet shuffling, right. So benefic planets generally gives some good health and happiness to the country. So basically this just doesn't mean, right, you know, the country is completely going to be collapsed because of these malefic influences, but the Leo ascendant country, the world's richest country, will have severe problems with its existence as a nation. And there is a one more thing I want to add. There is a probability that the president of the world's richest country may resign, or there would be some kind of attack on the president of the world's richest country. It can happen because of this malefic influences, and there is a severe chances, there is high chances that the country may directly involve in a war. There is a question of existence here, because Mars is present in a particular house, Rahu is aspecting and Saturn is also aspecting. So there is a kind of troublesome energy, and at the same time the sign lord is in the Rahu nakshatra, right. The sign lord, Leo's sign lord is Sun, and he is going to be in the Rahu nakshatra that time, right. With, if you see the starting energy, the moment it is starting, it is starting on 29th June, starting on 29th June, right. So how it is starting, how it is starting with start itself, it is showing its sign lord is in the Rahu nakshatra, where the sign lord Sun is not at all comfortable, because Sun and Moon are the permanent enemies of Rahu and Ketu, right. The frictional behavior, there is a lot of friction associated there. So if you want to imagine that energy, so you're trying for something better, you're trying for something great in your life, something great in your life, and you know that that particular thing is very, very important for your life, and you have a complete interest to achieve that. You're completely, your body, soul, mind, everything is dedicated for a particular thing. You want to achieve that, right. You are in that situation, and you know that you are going to achieve it. Now the time has come, right. that you are going to achieve it. Suddenly someone stopped it completely with the help of a greater force, and completely is able to stop, and not only stopping, also almost killed you. The guy almost killed you. Just imagine, it's a pathetic thing, and it happened in the Samudra Manthan story. When the demon Swarabhanu wanted to have the nectar, the Amrita, sun and moon observed that this demon Swarabhanu is in the queue of gods and trying to have a nectar, Amrita, right? And they told the same thing, they complained to Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu with his Sudarshana Chakra cut the body of Swarabhanu into two pieces. One is head, another one is body. The head part is Rahu and the remaining body part is Ketu. So Swarabhanu, just because he had one drop of Amrita, right, even though he was cut into two pieces, still alive in the form of the head, in the form of remaining body. The head part is Rahu and the remaining part is Ketu. So, just understand the emotion of Swarabhanu, whatever maybe his whether he is a demon, he is a human or whatever, or he is a god, leave that, but understand the emotion of that life energy of Swarabhanu. So, a person was very much interested to get something, so he stood in the queue of gods. He was very hopeful that he is going to get it, because he did a lot of hard work to get it, right. Even demons worked very hard to get Amrita coming out, right. So, he was very much emotional about that. He was very much sure that he is going to get the nectar and he is going to be immortal forever. And suddenly two people came into the picture, and with the help of God Vishnu just able to cut the head of Swarabhanu. How much enmity a Swarabhanu may have on sun and moon? Just imagine, just feel that energy, So, Rahu and Ketu consider sun and moon as their permanent enemies, without any doubt, right. It's a very pathetic story with respect to Swarabhanu. Now, this particular Mars in the Leo sign is something like a soldier, the officer of soldiers living in kingdom, right. He feels very powerful, and at the same time he is malefic, and he is transiting in the nakshatra of Ketu, right. And then is Mars, the sign lord, the Leo's sign lord, sun is in the nakshatra of Rahu, where he is not so comfortable in that particular nakshatra. He is not at all comfortable, right. So, this kind of energy is a troublesome energy for the world's richest country, right. So, there is a possibility that the president of world's richest country may resign in this particular period, or there is a threat to his chair for sure, right. There is a high probability, we can say, it's right. more probable situation. From 29th June 2023 to 15th August 2023 is not a good period for Joe Biden, right? He may resign, or his government may be under the trouble, severe trouble, and the country is not going to do well. And of course, you are also seeing that in the news. And this one we already discussed in the month of January, February, that time itself, because of Rahu, Saturn and Mars at a time attacking the sign of Leo. A very bad situation, right? So now 29th June 2023 to 15th August 2023 is not at all a good period for USA and Joe Biden. Then what it has to do? It has to perform Vedic rituals without any exception. Joe Biden and his cabinet better consult the Vedic Pandits, the Vedic priests of India, right? And better they perform proper propitiations with utmost reverence to Vedic culture. They have to perform the Vedic rituals. They have to perform the Vedic propitiations. Then only USA can do better in future. Otherwise, it's a big threat. It's a very big alarming situation without any exception. So the country's existence, the cabinet's existence, the government existence, the ruler's existence under the severe trouble. Starting energy itself is very, very bad, very, very malefic. Rahu and Ketu are involving, Rahu, Saturn, Mars are involving, a completely captured. Right? So thanks for watching this video.